This is Simon transparently awakening the heart of humanity as we see beyond the lies and open our eyes to realize.
Life's good.
Some of you have been following some of the videos, and this is Shahid, who I've been on a sort of co-creative retreat with, and he instigate as part of his teacher training, right?
Yeah, part of my Tantra teacher training.
Yeah. To do a number of 21 days and a number of different meditations, right? So he's actually been doing 2 hour-long meditations every day for the last 21 days, and we'll continue with some different ones. So I just wanted to grab him today, and this is congratulations, 21 days.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for inspiring me, because I actually wanted to do this a long time in 21 consecutive days. And for whatever reason, it didn't happen, life.
I can think of a few. Why it doesn't happen, because it is quite a journey. I mean, to commit to 21 days consecutive and to do the practice, like we did early in the morning, 6:30, it takes quite a bit. And that's, I guess, a big chunk of what the meditation is all about.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about showing up, and it's about doing it despite all the resistances that we, of course, have towards being committed to something and towards actually doing it and going through everything that comes up in it.
Exactly, yeah. It's a great point. The commitment in and of itself is a challenge, right?
Is a practice
in itself, right? And just like showing up, there was one point where we were doing, I can't remember what day now, and Shahid and me actually, we both got this sort of tension in our piriformis muscle, and I gave Shahid a massage. It hasn't really gone, but you start to also notice how it can exert your body, right? Which is another thing that comes up and makes you think, should I take tomorrow off, or should I rest,
Well, especially this dynamic meditation, because the other meditation I've been doing is the kundalini meditation, which is a lot milder, I can say.
Yeah.
So this is like we said after like 3 or 4 days, this really requires a fit body, to do this, because it takes a lot out of you, all the different stages, especially the jumping, which I don't know whether you guys are familiar with the dynamic meditation, but the first phase is 10 minutes breathing chaotically, like through the nose, in and out of the nose. And then the second stage is catharsis, like you go into whatever emotion is alive in you and you express that, whether it's anger, grief, laughter, everything's welcome in the space. You express that explosively or
like you said, like really feeling it.
Really feel it. That's what happened to me, and after a few days it was like it became like a performance. So I thought, what is really alive in me, and to really connect with that and then express that, and a lot of times I was surprised how gentle it could be, and how fully aware I was of grief, pain, hurt, but also joy and everything passing by, pretty much. And then the third stage is another 10 minutes and that's we call it the hoo-hoo, where you raise your arms and you jump up and you land on your full feet, like your soul's flat on the earth, and you jolt the whole body, basically, the spine, and that awakens the kundalini, awakens your life force energy from your sacrum all the way up to your spine and out of your crown. But it really jolts the whole body, and you're like lifting your whole body off the earth and jumping, basically, feet flat. And that is something. You should try this if you want to know what it's like. You do that 10 minutes in a row for 21 days consecutive. I mean, still, I just did the 21 version of it, and I can tell you it still is a challenge. I thought it would become easier, and in a way it does, but it is still not something that happens by itself, at least not for me.
Yeah.
And then after those 10 minutes you freeze, and then you would think, after all that movement and dynamic and activating the body, it would be a delight not to have to move. But you could be surprised at this one, because really freezing in the moment wherever your arms are and not moving at all, and just being with what is alive in you is another challenge in itself.
Yes.
Because after, in the beginning it's like, oh, wonderful, I can just be, I don't have to do. But then you become restless and your mind kicks in, and
right.
And so that 15 minutes is quite a thing. And then after that 15 minutes, the music kicks in. It's just classic Indian music, and you're invited to celebrate and to start dancing with it, and that is, I think, the best part of the whole meditation, because that's actually just being alive and being happy with being alive and celebrating life. And so but it's been a journey, and what's been coming up for me mostly, Simon, is what a mindfucker we are. Our mind, our monkey mind, is a bam bam bam. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy that there's people who are kind of sane. It's unbelievable what goes on in us, especially if we have to go through this process, and how much resistance there is to surrendering to it.
Yeah, and really looking, right? Because the stage that you said, where we're holding the arms up, is really an opportunity to witness, like with totality, right? In that stillness, through all that movement. That's the sort of flip, isn't it? And then all of a sudden, you even, I don't know if you had this experience, but you get like the bigger flashlight on what's actually going on inside, and then you start to notice what you described, right? Of like what's really going on, and how unpredictable and erratic it is. No, because you remember you said at one point, like, some very old thoughts sort of popped up of people and places. And
what my biggest takeaway from these 21 days is that, well, first of all, it is still a challenge. I mean, even if I would continue, I know now that even after 21 days, it would still be a challenge to show up, to do the practice, and to surrender to whatever is in the moment. So my biggest takeaway is that we are very dual, and that we are at one. A part of it is the witness, and is witnessing the ego, if you will, and the resistance that comes up in that ego, in our story, if you will, our story to which we are very attached, and which wants us to be something, do something, or not. And the part of us that can just witness all that, and you could say that's our true self, and our true self is constantly challenged and poked by our our untrue self, or maybe our small self, or our ego self. I don't even know if there's a word for that, but that's my takeaway. Like there's two of us basically, and the true self is where we are at peace, where we are aligned, where we are reconciled with accepting, with existing. And the small self, or the ego self, is the uncomfortable one, the one that has learned to try and deal with life, the coping mechanisms, and that's the one that challenges the true self. And if you can unite both, if you can be with both, and just allow them both to be, the witness to witness the ego, and the ego to know that there's a witness, then you can go to a space of surrender, space of nothing maybe, in which all is happening and all is good, and all is good, and all is well. And then you crack up and start laughing because it's a joke. It really is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing. I mean, the dynamic and existence and realizing that we are really creating this duality, which is an illusion, and in fact we are a non-dual part of the universe that is experiencing itself as part of the universe, and that's what consciousness is, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. And again, trying to describe these phenomenal, indescribable things, because it's also like an experience, right?
Totally.
And we, of course, then come back into, which I love what you said, that it's all included and it's all here.
Yeah.
And then we come into the play of even explaining that with a sort of sense of limited words to play with, which
absolutely.
also makes it even more funny, because we all do our best at trying to define it. But you said something lovely. Do you remember in after one of the sessions, how, just again, not to define the constructs of our little self, let's say, but you remember you said, you was noticing how, we need this sort of identity in the young age, because everyone's telling us, you remember how you said it? Like, everyone's telling us, don't do this, don't do that, you should be this, you should be that. So you need this sort of ego to survive.
Exactly.
And then you get a bit older and you're like, well, this ego is not really helping me anymore. I need to not get rid of it, but like, is it really healthy? And then you start to mature. And as you mature, you have a sort of deeper sense of awareness that, okay, this is a part of me, but it's not all of me.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. It's like the whole process of growing up is actually acquiring an ego, or acquiring a personality, requiring a sense of self as a means of becoming you, and as a means of coping with life and growing up with parents and other people around you. And you basically create this ego as a way to deal with your social environment, whatever it may be. And some people go through really rough times, and others have it really easy, but they have it rough in a different way. So it's every unique life creates a unique ego, you could say. So, and from that space, we have to learn that we're not the ego. We have the ego because we needed that to get where we are right now. And we don't have to get rid of the ego, because that's impossible. It's like, trying to cut off part of your body because you think you don't need it anymore. You're not gonna live, right? So you need the ego. You need to love the ego for what it is, and realize that the witness, the true self, which is underneath the ego or inside of the ego, is actually what we are. And meditation is one way of connecting again to that true self, to connecting to that core that's, let's say, covered by this layer of ego on the outside. And then you can crack the ego, and the true self can come out, but in with reverence and respect and love for the ego that is part of us, and that served us.
That has served us. I like that.
And that is, and in a way, that's that's the whole. That's part of becoming a mature human being, and realizing, taking responsibility for your life, and showing up in this world, and looking with compassion at all the other human beings around you, because they're in the same place, right?
Right.
They also have an ego, and a lot of people might not be aware that they have an ego, and they identify with the ego, so they are in constant struggle with life.
Right.
And that's something to be very compassionate about.
Right. Yeah, and I really I appreciate that you brought it back to that point of seeing that everyone, no matter what they are going through, are having their own battles and their own challenges with this dance of duality and wholeness simultaneously playing out. And I love the word, as you're saying, compassion. The word popping up for me is wholeness. And like when we do, I don't even say to do, but when we're in meditation, when we go through these practices, often it's like, well, what's the point? Because, humans always want to know, what's the point? What's my benefit? What am I getting out of this? But I think through the awareness, the heightened awareness that you're describing there, you're moving into a sense of wholeness, And in that sense of wholeness where I love how you said loving it all, you're loving it all and welcoming it all, rather than sort of condemning it and fighting it and saying you've got to get rid of this and get rid of that. You're actually embracing it all, and this word popping up is merging with it all. And then there's more of an embrace in it, right? And I don't know if you want to. You mentioned before.
It's almost like making peace with existence, And it's because in the dynamic, especially, there is a lot of resistance, right, to all the different stages you have to do, and just loving them too, loving the resistance too, not making yourself wrong for it, but just it's part of it. It is you're triggered, right? You're triggered, you're challenged, you're physically, emotionally, mentally, in every aspect of your being.
Physically.
Physically. I thought I wouldn't be sore after 21 days, but I'm still fucking sore, I was gonna say. But of
You're
course,
allowed.
We don't curse here. So, yeah, and that's, I guess, why meditation is such a powerful tool, because it allows you to really go into the experience of life in a dual sense of the word, because it invites in the witness, the witnessing. And whether you're sitting on a cushion, or whether you're doing a dynamic meditation or a kundalini meditation, or some of the other Osho meditations that I now I'm dedicated to practicing for 21 days, it doesn't really matter. It just gives you a window of opportunity to look at the whole picture, to have a broader perspective, and to reconcile yourself with it, and to come at peace with that. And when you come at peace with that, and you can see it, you can also have more compassion for yourself, and look at the wonder of life, and how blessed we are that we have this consciousness, and that we can expand it, and thus have a more meaningful life.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what's, I love that again. Yeah, I really appreciated this, because as I'm just seeing words pop up as you're speaking, and you're using the word compassion, which is lovely, and the words popping up for me is forgiveness, because it's like we're deciding, even through that resistance, to go inside, to really look at ourselves, to bring a light of love to help heal whatever's going on in us, the noise, the monkey, whatever we've done, experienced. Today, loads of stuff was coming up around not being enough and unworthiness and all this, and just like noticing, like, oh, that's interesting, that's popping up, day 20 for me. Master's on day 21, I'm a disciple, I'm day 20, so I have another day, but I wanted to capture Shahid today. But I love how through looking in, taking that witness to look inside, that's where we can really do the real cleaning. That's where we can bring that forgiveness, compassion to ourselves, and simultaneously, I know you know this, but simultaneously, it has to go out, right? And maybe you can just sort of finish or share it, unless there's anything else you want to share, but share a little bit on how this is, how you're going to take whatever you've picked up from this 21 days into your life now.
Into life,
if there is anything that's popped up, like maybe I'm going to bring this, or I can just notice because I know you have a...
Well, there's one word that pops up for me in this, and that is the word peace. Because of course, in my life there's also stuff going on, and there's challenges and triggers and old stuff and traumas and you name it. I'm just a normal being, right? And we all have those. But peace is what comes up for me. Why? Because having done this practice for 21 days and having seen that there's nothing to accomplish, right? There's no goal. I mean, it's a 21-day challenge, of course. So you complete your 21 days. But was that 21st day so much different than the first? If I'm honest, no. It's not like, oh, now I'm there, I'm on top of the mountain, I'm looking down at all you guys and say, come up here, because the view's amazing. It's not like that at all. It's peace in the sense that I have cultivated this witness inside of me by doing the practice, and because of that, I have more peace in myself. You could say I have more awareness on how I am, what existence is, or what life is. And I think meditation can take you into deeper peace with yourself and with life and with existence. And from that peace blossoms love, compassion, and out of that awareness or peace, you can be a better human being. You can show up in a different way. You can be in service. You can really bring more love and peace into this world, knowing that we're not necessarily going anywhere. It's about what we do right here, right now, and how we're showing up for that. And that's, I think, the takeaway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Peace.
Yeah, peace. And
Yeah, man.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
man. And I want to just in closing say, I hope you can really take something from this.
Yeah.
I hope you can, explore it yourself. As Shahid said, whether you do this meditation or not, I feel that when I love speaking to different people around the world, as you all know, and you see it coming back to that little point every time of like that awareness leads to inner peace, and in that inner peace you engage with the whole in a completely different way. Then you are what I call the healing balm, because the healing balm is that you are, the emanation, the frequency that supports the healing for others in the world, and so on and so forth, because your actions change. Yeah, you don't show up in such a a separate self. You're more connected to the whole. Yeah. So it's super beautiful, and I love those reflections. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank
you
you
for asking, and thank you for this little share.
Yeah.
It's really wonderful, and it's been a true pleasure to have you join me for 20 days already, and it was a real support also, because it does help. If you do this, I can tell you folks that if you want to do this, it really helps to have support, to have it doing in a group. And this group was 2 most of the time.
Most of the time,
we had
yes.
a few people popping in every now and then, and that kind of showed how showing up, committing to it, and actually doing it is a practice in itself.
Yeah.
To start with.
And I got nice tingles on my arms as he says that, because I felt exactly the same. As much as I'm a motivator and support a lot of people, it was so beautiful knowing he's going to be there. So Master's going to be there. I have to be there.
And because I have a disciple now, and I knew he was going to be there, I thought, fuck, I got to show up. I got to be there. So it really helps to overcome, all these things inside of us that make up stories and excuses, saying, oh, well, maybe I'll just skip today, or I'll sleep in, or I'll do it later, or oh God, my foot or my leg is really hurting, or I got a sore back. I mean, I've had them all.
Yes.
And it's not about that. It's not about that. It's the ego that doesn't want to go to new places.
Boom.
And it's where we need to go to discover the witness and to become more whole. And like I said, to come at peace with what is.
Hey, there you go.
Thank you, bro.
Mwah! Thank you all for watching. Thank you so much. Hug for the master. Yes.
Thank you, Simon.
Thank you so much.
Love you, man.
Boom.
Thank you. Boom.
This is our time to rise.